Typhoon Haiyan devastated several provinces and municipalities in the Eastern Visayas region of November 2013. It was the country's most powerful tropical cyclone on record, killing thousands, displacing many more, and causing a total damage of 785 billion US dollars to houses, agriculture, and public infrastructure. The Philippines National Disaster Management Act of 2010, RA 10121, has been hailed by several international agencies, including UNISDR, as one of the most robust legal framework for a comprehensive disaster risk reduction. However, the experiences from Typhoon Haiyan alerts us to the fact that the national institutions, regional, provincial, municipal authorities, and communities need adequate capacities and skills to able to benefit from the robust legal framework for disaster risk reduction. Some major lessons to learn from these mega disasters are: early warning system should be improved. Decision makers should understand and use risk maps. Disaster preparedness and contingency planning should improve. Institutional capacity should be developed on disaster resilience and climate change adaptation. Community-based disaster risk reduction and management, or the CBDRRM, should be widely promoted. In this background, Swedish Civil Contingency Agency, the MSB, joined hands with the United Nations Development Program, or UNDP, to promote disaster risk reduction in Typhoon Haiyan affected provinces in Eastern Visayas region of the Philippines.
The focus of our disaster risk reduction work should be to strengthen and enhance the resilience of the communities and the local government units, because a disaster risk can be reduced not by any external agency or external force. It has to be, the risk reduction has to be embedded into the lives of people and the work of the local governments. UNISDR defines resilience as the ability of a system to cope with major shocks, recover from the shocks, and spring back to normal life by using its resources and capacities. As it happened after Yolanda, the communities and local government units have been able to recover to a great extent by using their existing resources, which actually means that they have been able to prevent a total collapse of their systems, because they have something to latch on. They have some inherent capacities, resources to latch on. These capacities and resources, not just limited to the financial resources, are disaster risk reduction capacities. These resources, when we say these resources, means the resources are basically the inherent characteristics that the people carry and the institutions carry. Now, we need to enhance this resilience. In order to boost this resilience, which is very much within a system or an individual or a family or a community, you need some external impetus. So our target was to provide that external impetus so that inherent resilience of the communities and the institutions will be enhanced to deal with future disasters in a much better way and reduce losses in future disasters. So the MSB, in collaboration with UNDP and in consultation with local government units and the communities and the various other stakeholders, has designed a program that has aimed at enhancing resilience of men, women, local government units and many other communities to future disasters. We wanted to ensure that the little investment that MSB has been able to bring in should provide a good examples, a good platform to build on and to follow by UNDP and other agencies after MSB leaves at the end of October 2015. In that process, MSB has, in collaboration with UNDP, has identified three major areas of interventions. The first major area of intervention is enhancing regional capacities on disaster risk reduction and providing regional level policy support for strengthening disaster risk reduction. The second major component of this design was to strengthen the capacities of provincial governments and the municipal governments on disaster risk reduction through policy, planning and technology. And the third is community-based disaster risk reduction and management. And this community-based disaster risk reduction and management essentially entails working with communities, strengthening their planning, enhancing their capacities, and making them part of the entire disaster risk reduction and management system of the government from top to bottom.
We have a very strong support from the Swedish Civil Contingency Agency, or the MSB, specifically for disaster risk reduction activities. We also have benefited from operational support funds that helped us in training and preparing for post-disaster actions. Through these funds, we have partnered with the Palaw Archdiocese and the PDRRN for the Biliran projects by building capacities for the community through the CBDRRM process in barangay development planning and even in data information gathering that is important in the land use operations of the LGUs.
We have worked with MSB even before the DRR team came in. We have worked with the MSB team on waste management. And Naval, particularly, has been assisted by the waste management team of MSB. They came over to inspect the downside. In fact, all these three LGUs that we prioritized have been represented in the waste management training that we did with MSB and our consultants in Ormo. So when we started, we did, as mentioned earlier, we did a lot of debris clearing, we did a lot of recovery planning with the LGUs. And we prioritized the formation, the support in the formation of technical working groups, especially on disaster risk reduction and management. So we succeeded in helping the province of Biliran form the technical working group on DRR.
MSB supported and facilitated the review of implementation of rules and regulations for implementing National Disaster Management Act of 2010. The review was implemented in several successive steps, such as survey in the 6 provinces, regional workshop with representatives of the provincial DRRM councils and offices, writing of IRR review report.
The rules and regulations are so exhaustive that the local government units were in a major confusion, had many questions, and did not have a chance to clarify those questions and inform themselves. So therefore the implementation of Act actually really suffered to a great extent. So MSB and UNDP collectively jointly have conducted survey in over 30 municipalities in Eastern Visayas region, involving hundreds of local government official and other stakeholders to elicit their views, elicit their lessons, elicit the challenges that they faced in implementing the Act and understanding the rules and regulations for implementing the Act. So this massive survey in over 3 months in covering various number of stakeholders through wide consultations has resulted in a comprehensive survey document and analysis of what really is affecting the implementation of RA 10121 in Philippines. So this comprehensive survey analysis report has been provided by MSBA and UNDP to Regional Office of Civil Defense, which is the responsible agency for taking this survey results to the national level in the year 2015, when the national level survey is conducted the results from this region that are provided by MSB and UNDP to Regional Office of Civil Defense will be taken to the national level and they will be pooled to the national level survey and analysis. And subsequently, the rules and regulations will be updated, changed or improved. So also the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act.
Provincial and municipal government units shoulder greatest responsibility of responding to disasters and reducing disaster risk. Strengthening these local government units with necessary tools, capacities, and resources is key to enhancing disaster resilience.
At the provincial and municipal level, we have undertaken three types of activities. One, helping the provincial and the municipal level local government units to have good disaster risk reduction and management plans. That's number one activity. Number two, developing the capacities of the staff at the local government units on various disaster management aspects like contingency planning and evacuation planning and community-based disaster management, all these areas. So building capacities of the local government units. Third type of activity is actually equipping the local government units with necessary technology for reducing disaster risk.
The activities that we have been doing to sustain or to mainstream DRR climate change into the local development plans of Biliran province is through the resources made available by MSB. One of the major roles of UNDP here is to leverage resources that we have. And jumping into the challenges or the lessons learned is that to our Australian partners, the Australian consultants who are urban planners and municipal development planning experts, they said that they will recommend that next time they should have also their own funding to bring with them because they realized that MSB had much more impact because they have their own resources.
MSB supported and facilitated drafting of Ormoc City DRRM plan for the year 2015. The plan has been approved and adopted by the City Government's Council for implementation. The plan was developed collectively with concerned city line departments together with the UNDP, Oxfam, Plan and other organizations. MSB experts facilitated a 3-day training on contingency planning for evacuation for concerned officers and departments in Biliran Province and 3 municipalities. The training modules and methods will be replicated by UNDP in other municipalities in Biliran and other provinces.
And that is an interesting factor because it could be translated as stupidity, but the proper word is sensitivity. And it goes on our social organization. How are we organized in a community that makes us sensitive to these shocks?
And immediately when there will be disaster or there will be some, vulnerability issues, what comes immediately into the mind of the decision makers?
Consider us to be the less preferable option. Evacuation serves as shelter in place and a public shelter. That's all.
GIS plotters were provided to Biliran Province and Ormoc Municipality in November of 2014. These plotters were used aptly and efficiently by concerned authorities to generate necessary maps for decision-making when Typhoon Ruby, international name Typhoon Hagupit, hit the region in December of 2014.
One of the major needs that identified by MSB and UNDP were inadequate technology tools for digital mapping of hazards before they occur, when they occur and after they occur. Based on the needs expressed by the local government units, MSB for UNDP has procured two GIS plotter and all the necessary equipment that goes with it, like ink and stationery and other things, so that the local government units, especially Nawal and Armok, are able to map the hazards, print these hazard maps and use them for hazard analysis and pre-position their forces for effective disaster risk.
We have a plotter, a GIS map printer, which has been given to the province of Biliran. This will go a long way. Even the 40 tablets will go a long way, because we are hoping that all the 8 municipalities of Biliran, including the less prioritized LGUs at this point, will be able to use this equipment, the plotter and the tablets, in the conduct of CDMS.
And after disasters, the GIS plotters are useful in terms of identifying the affected areas and launching quick response. For instance, when we have used these GIS plotters to print maps, and when we have used these maps in conducting training in some of the barangays as part of land use planning exercise, this activity happened just before Typhoon Haiyan struck the region. So the whole maps and the activity helped communities in time to understand the risk from different directions. So when actually Ruby hit, the people voluntarily moved out of that area based on the knowledge from the maps. They identified the safer places. They moved up to the uplands to the safer places. Incidentally, the Busali is one of the villages that was badly damaged by Typhoon Ruby because of excessive rain, and this rain transforming into a huge flood, and the flood eroding the soil in the village.
MSB provided 70 Samsung tablets to the Department of Interior and Local Governance, or DILG, to carry out community-based monitoring and survey. The tablets are used initially by 3 municipalities and subsequently in all other municipalities by the Department of Interior and Local Government. Initially, in 3 municipalities, over 300,000 people will be surveyed to collect basis data on their living conditions. The data collected will be used for development planning, disaster contingency planning, land use planning, and disaster risk reduction and management. Plans by the DILG with concerned municipalities. MSB assisted Tacloban with emergency response and rescue equipment. The equipment include patrol and rescue boat, boat trailer, collapsible boat canopy, automated external defibrillator, Kendrick extrication device, first responder jack, self-contained breathing apparatus. This equipment will be used during emergencies by the Tacloban City Disaster Management Unit for emergency rescue and response operations. In normal times, the equipment will be used for education and training purposes in community-based disaster risk reduction program in Tacloban, initiated by the UNDP with MSB support.
The Tacloban city, which was the most affected major city in Yolanda in 2013, has lost many of its rescue boats in the disaster, and it is the city government is still struggling to re-equip itself with all this boat and other rescue equipment, and therefore they placed a request to UNDP, and the UNDP forwarded the request to MSB, and MSB is happy to equip the city government with the search and rescue equipment to strengthen its resilience and its preparedness to future disasters.
We are so thankful to UNDP for giving us a lot of assistance, both technical and material assistance in terms of equipments as well as know-how in terms of accelerated and more intense and enhanced disaster preparedness. UNDP has done a lot to our capacity building. They had sponsored a lot of our equipments, even as well as our this office itself. Then the latest are the life-saving devices that UNDP had given us today. We are so grateful, particularly to MSB, for giving us this assistance, because this will really inspire a lot of us coming up with our direction towards disaster preparedness.
The main focus of community-based disaster risk reduction and management is to reduce disaster vulnerability and enhance resilience. The key strategies of CBDRRM initiative are community organization, community preparedness, strengthening the capacities of local organizations, local faith institutions, local government units, creating and enabling environment through community-based land use planning, reliable data generation with community participation, informing and integrating community voices into municipal planning system, and linking community organizations to long-term livelihoods and infrastructure development programs.
We were happy that MSB fully supports the concept of community-based DRR and management, because UNDP believes in the concept, the involvement of communities, making sure that their voices are heard, especially in planning, in disaster risk reduction and management, and in adapting to climate change. CBDRRM has become a major tool or vehicle in making our interventions with the province of Biliran really work down to the barangay level, to the community level.
CBMS is an organized process of data collection and processing at the local level and of integration of data in risk and vulnerability assessment, baseline data collection, local planning, program implementation, and impact monitoring. It is a system that promotes evidence-based risk and vulnerability assessment, policy making, and program implementation with community participation.
We cannot formulate a plan without the data. So the data generated in the CBMS will be used in our planning activity in the local government unit. And the very important advantage in having the CBMS data is that the local government unit is easy to identify the needs of the community, of the people. And the interventions will be properly given to the beneficiaries when we have this CBMS data.
Community base will give us an idea of the socio-econ profile of the municipality. It will show us the level of poverty incidence in the municipal level, and it will show us also data on how many households do have access, for example, to sanitary toilets, how many 0 to 5 years old children who are malnourished, how many households live in makeshift houses, and the likes. And this will eventually give us a definition of what interventions in the context of DRR that should be prioritized for the province.
The important thing of the CBMS project is help a lot for us in identifying the most priority needs by our constituent, for us to easily deliver the good and appropriate services for them.
Risk-sensitive land use planning workshops are supported as a pilot in 14 barangays in Biliran province. In the workshops, communities discussed key disaster risks and vulnerabilities from the perspective of land use planning. Among major recommendations from communities include construction of sea walls in coastal barangays, establishment or improvement of drainage and irrigation systems in most flood-affected areas, farm-to-market roads, and the construction of evacuation centers, development of falls and springs into tourist areas, and the improvement of coastal area into a beach rehabilitation of the fish sanctuaries, establishment of mangrove plantations, and etc.
Use planning exercise that goes on systematically, and that land use planning is conducted by municipalities, and the data is fed into national level land use planning and policy kind of activities. Now, but we have supported this activity on the request from local municipalities, UNDP and DILG and PDRRMO from the perspective of risk, number one, and from the perspective of providing community voice into the risk management.
Community-based disaster risk reduction and management activities are implemented in 14 high-risk coastal and upland barangays in the municipalities of Biliran, Naval, Cabocgayan in the province of Biliran, prone to tropical cyclones, storm surges, rain-induced landslides, flooding, and earthquake. The major outputs of this project include Participatory Capacity and Vulnerability Assessment or PCVA evacuation plans developed and adapted to the needs of the most vulnerable, drilled and coordinated with neighborhood barangays and with municipality contingency planning.
Such as landslides, earthquake, of course, storm surge, typhoon, floods, and other environmental hazards. So the components basically is composed of risk assessment, conducting the participatory capacity and vulnerability analysis, the conduct of community-based monitoring system, which is actually being led by the Department of Interior and Local Government, and the land use mapping and planning. The approach is community-based, that the data should be collected at the ground level with the participation of the community residents. So all the sectoral groupings like the farmers, the fishers, the women, children, the person with disabilities, the elderly, the local officials, even the gay and the lesbians are actually involved or encouraged to participate in this. This is guided with the principles or the provision of the Republic Act 10121 of the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010, that community-based disaster risk reduction is a viable approach in DRR, or in disaster risk reduction. That means to say that the people is at the heart of decision making, meaning
bagan maprisko, mahagnaw ang kasirak, pero yan na. Ipanaan alisngawhan sirak yan na. Tungod sigurohan climate change ba ngan sugad dito an kuan niya na naton sugaan na nakakabati ako nga an aton ozone layer ay guba na.
Natahuman ang dati ka sa loob. Nanibago na iya pag-agi.
Nagluya ang
tubig.
CBDRRM initiative in Tacloban and Palo pays special attention to exploring and strengthening faith and culture as essential social capital of resilience. It builds on the strengths of existing faith-based basic ecclesial communities, or the BEC, initiatives to mainstream DRR into the community way of life. Additionally, awareness campaigns in Resilient Shelter, WASH, Resilient Livelihoods, and planning for ecosystem rehabilitation will be implemented. So far, in our experience, one thing that we really observe, especially in this emergency period, is that faith has a lot to do with recovery. In fact, many families despite the experience they had, like losing their relatives, their houses, and everything else. What made them continue to move forward is their faith in God. Yes, emergency assistance like water, food, even clothing, and temporary shelters are very important and necessary. But it's really our faith that kept us strong and gave us the courage to continue through this calamity.
In order to institutionalize the knowledge and experience gained in this unique initiative, RCA-RRU has established Disaster Management Training Institute to train BECs from all over the country on disaster resilience. Use of theater and cultural arts proved to be effective in drawing interest, creating awareness, and enlist active participation of communities.
During naging evacuation to dito, before sila matulog, pinapakanta namin yun sa mga bata. Parang naging lullaby song siya sa kanila. Pati yung mga matatanda, yung mga parents na din, nagjo-join na din sila. Yung kantang yung ginagawa namin during our psychosocial activities dito sa office para ma-stress debrief yun naman yung mga bata, tapos makapag-enjoy naman sila kahit paano. Isang project ng Caritas Palo, gumawa ng yung CMDRR, yung may component ng faith, culture and resiliency. So isang kalakip doon na program is yung gumawa ng theater group na siyang magpapaano naman sa mga community in a theater approach na ma-show namin yung resiliency na program sa mga different barangays through our theater presentation. Ang pinakaunang naging audience namin, parang premiere show siya, yung mga staff namin dito. So yung ginawa namin after the performance, nag-suggest sila ng mga comments to improve the show before namin siya isabak sa different barangays. Yung mga volunteers namin sa theater arts group, yung iba nakilala na lang namin during our psychosocial activities na ginagawa sa different barangays. Nakita namin yung mga potential. May evacuees. Tapos sila talaga lahat certified survivors talaga ng Yolanda.
Promotion of faith as a social capital of resilience and the use of theater to create awareness model has caught the attention of national and international media.
It's important to understand that the resilience of communities does not come only from financial resources or material resources. The resilience of communities is essentially coming from their inherent self-worth, self-value, self-respect, and the dignity and the faith that they have in the system that they are living in.
So we are starting and we're hoping for this program or project to set an example, a good example of how it can be done in other parts of the world. At the moment we are running, I think, 150 projects throughout the world. So there are many missions going on, but at the same time many of them can be missions for 8 weeks or 3 months or maybe only 2 weeks. So this mission that has been going on for a long time is also even more important and something we'd like to bridge on to more.
Despite Typhoon Yolanda, international name Haiyan, something good has come out of the situation for the province of Biliran. We build back better by forging partnerships with UNDP, MSB, PDRRN, PDRRMO, and our office, DILG. This collaboration harmonized our efforts to prioritize the most pressing need of local governments in Biliran, that is, to mainstream the DRRM CCA in our local development planning processes. The DILG is here to coordinate among stakeholders in ensuring that technical assistance in local planning is effectively and efficiently provided. Allow me to thank UNDP and MSB for partnering with us. Your technical assistance is very much helpful in building back Biliran better.
Good day. This is Mr. Sofronio Dasillo, PDRRMO of Biliran Province. Actually, we are very much thankful about the interventions given by UNDP in collaboration with MSB or the Swedish Civil Contingency Agency. Right now, we are capacitating our municipalities on how to cope up with disasters because, as you know, we cannot predict the result, the impact of when a disaster comes, especially typhoons and earthquakes. So there's really a need to capacitate the communities in responding to these kind of emergencies.
The resources are inconsequential compared to the needs that you have. But what is really consequential is the ideas that we have generated together. These limited resources should be able to make optimum impact, and these limited resources should be able to provide a platform for making best use of the bigger resources that this province can generate on itself or from other agencies. So this is what we have focused on when we work together. And it is the ideas, what kind of ideas will make maximum impact. So these limited resources, I am very happy to state here that MSB, I can proudly report back to MSB that our resources have been in